Hey guys, today we're going to be doing things a little bit differently. Instead of me standing in front of the whole entire class and talking, I'm going to be giving a PowerPoint presentation, which you guys are going to be viewing on your desktops or on your Chromebooks, and you're going to be taking some guided notes as you go along. This is my first time doing this, so I'm not sure how well it's going to go, but if you have any questions at all throughout the PowerPoint, it's pretty short. Just raise your hand and I'll come over and help you. Please don't talk during this so everyone else can pay attention. Again, this is my first time doing this, so bear with me. So today we're going to be talking about the presidential election of 1932. This is between Herbert Hoover, who was the guy who was already in office. He was a Republican, and Franklin Delano Roosevelt, who was a Democrat, otherwise known as FDR. So here we have a picture of Herbert Hoover. Again, the guy who was already in office. And here is FDR, the guy running against him. So, the election of 1932 took place in the worst year of the Great Depression, 1932. Millions of people in America were unemployed. Farmers weren't making any crops. Unemployment was at 25%, and in some cities as high as 33%, so 1 out of every 3 people was unemployed, and it was in the middle of the Dust Bowl. So all the Midwestern states and the Southwestern states were affected and couldn't farm and couldn't have any crops. This was like the worst year in American history, and it happened to coincide with a presidential election. Here's a picture of some shanty towns that where homeless people went to go live during the Great Depression. I think you guys know this already, but they're referred to as Hoovervilles after the guy who was in office, the president during the Great Depression. So, like I said, the Depression was the worst year. It was in 1932, and it was also during a presidential election. Herbert Hoover was the guy already in office, and then the Democrats voted to have FDR, or Franklin Delano Roosevelt, run against Herbert Hoover. This is a political cartoon that just shows a little bit about the election. This plane represents FDR, or Franklin Delano Roosevelt, and the title is A Message of Hope. So FDR is running on a platform of hope, that he's going to come and change things and make things better for the American people. The election. So the only thing that anyone really cared about in 1932 was, how are you guys going to get us out of the Great Depression? Which candidate, Hoover or Roosevelt, is going to do the most to make things better in America, to get us out of the Great Depression? I'll give you a little hint, guys. Herbert Hoover, everyone in America blamed him for the Great Depression, so his chances of winning this election are not very good. Think about it. If he was already in office, the Great Depression happened when he was the president, why would anyone vote for him again? So this is pretty easy campaign for Roosevelt to come in and say, hey, I'm going to change things, I'm going to make things better, and that's what he does. So FDR ran on a platform of change, the exact same way that, if you guys remember, in 2008, Obama ran on a platform of change. People were unhappy with how the president before him, George Bush, did things, so Obama said, change, change, change. I'm going to change everything. And FDR said the same thing. People did not like Herbert Hoover. They blamed him for the depressions. So all he had to do, FDR, was say, hey, I'm going to change things. What FDR believed was, it's complete opposite of what Hoover believed. FDR thought it was the responsibility of the government to help out its citizens. So if somebody needed welfare, FDR believed that the government should provide that for them. If somebody needed a job, FDR believed the government should help find people jobs. If people needed food for their kids, FDR thought it was the responsibility of the government to give them food. Hoover did not believe that. He believed the exact opposite. So FDR ran on a platform of something called the New Deal, which we're going to learn a lot more about tomorrow and on Friday. The New Deal was FDR's plan to get America out of the Great Depression. I'll say that again. The New Deal was FDR's plan to get America out of the Great Depression. And we're going to go into more detail about that in the next coming days, but that's just a little overview for right now. So under the New Deal, FDR offered aid for the unemployed. He helped people get jobs. He helped people get food who needed food. Again, we're going to go into more detail, but that's just a little overview of what it is. Now, Hoover, on the other hand, was the exact opposite of FDR. Hoover believed that it was people's responsibility to fend for themselves. So if you lost your job during the Great Depression, it's slow for you. It's not up to the government to help you out. If you can't afford to feed your family, it's slow for you. Then your family's going to die. So obviously, the American people didn't like that approach. It wasn't working, and they hated Hoover for that. Spoiler alert, Hoover doesn't win the election. So the new president was FDR. This picture here is him getting his speech when he gets elected. And when FDR gets elected, it marks the beginning of the end of the Great Depression. The most important thing is people begin to have hope again. Before his election, people had no hope. I don't know if you remember that song we read about how people thought the only place you could go to escape the Great Depression was heaven. Or, just there's a general sense that things were not going to get better. But then FDR comes, says he's going to change things. People have hope again. This is a map of the election. All the states in blue go to FDR. Actually, when you look at any presidential map like this, red always represents Republican and blue always represents Democrats. So all these blue states here voted for FDR, and all these red states voted for Hoover. So you can see right away that it was what they call a landslide election. It was a blowout. It was like when the Bucks played the Golden State Warriors the other night, and they just blew them out and ruined their 24-game winning streak. So here are 3 review questions I want you to answer on your guide and notes. Please use full sentences. What was the most important campaign issue of the 1932 presidential election? How were Hoover's views regarding the role of government different from FDR's? I mean, like one of them thought it was the responsibility of the government to help people. One of them thought it wasn't. Explain that a little bit. And what was FDR's New Deal? Just in a sentence or 2, explain to me what the New Deal was. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed this. Please let me know if I should do anything differently. I'm sure I talked a little quickly. I'm sorry, this is my first time doing this, but I hope you guys enjoyed it.